Tonight, scared and shaken, Ottawa residents and business owners recall the chaos during the convoy protests at the Public Order Emergency Commission. Also, crystal meth is one of the most addictive and destructive drugs on the market. We take a look at what First Nations on the prairies are doing to combat it. Plus, Saskatchewan's Lieutenant Governor honors some citizens of our province for their acts of bravery.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, October 14th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. Downtown residents terrified of leaving their own homes, businesses losing income, all bewildered by the lack of police response to the raucous protests in Ottawa last winter. That's what witnesses told today the Commission looking into the government's use of the Emergencies Act. Rafi Boudjikanian has more on the second day of public hearings.
The convoy's occupation of downtown Ottawa lasted around 3 weeks, but today the Commission of Inquiry heard the impact lingered.
The long-term effects are loss of hearing, loss of balance, some vertigo, triggered by the sound of any horn now, triggered by certain music. It just was an assault on my hearing.
They would increase their honking and target their honking and shout at us, shout at me about how they were doing things for us and that they were fighting for our freedoms. It didn't feel safe. You know, my guard was up all the time and the people that are supposed to help you weren't helping you.
Ottawa police trying to show they were doing their job, especially after Lee became the center of attention as the face of a class action lawsuit initiated by residents and businesses, which led to her receiving threats online.
And the Ottawa police actually attended your residence a couple of occasions as well, correct?
That is correct.
The lawyer representing some convoy organizers said that regardless of events, the federal government had no business invoking the Emergencies Act.
You didn't see anything that could be classified as espionage or sabotage?
No.
Thank you. It's never said the commission or saw any protesters or truckers physically harm anyone, is that right?
I would describe it as intimidation with a truck.
At least for one city councillor, it went further. He and his family temporarily vacated their home and say police did not respond to their report of threats.
Any public office holder, our information can unfortunately be found online in some instances, and I believe that that's how protesters were able to find my home address and show up.
The city's response to the crisis will take center stage on Monday as both Mayor Jim Watson and manager Steve Kanellakis are expected to speak. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Saskatchewan government says eligibility for Pfizer's bivalent vaccine will be available to people next week, and people can be age 12 and up. It's called bivalent because it protects against the original strain of COVID-19 as well as the more recent Omicron strain. It'll be available in pharmacies and public health clinics starting Monday. Anyone 12 and up can get it if it's been 4 months since their previous dose. It's the second bivalent shot to come out in this province. Moderna's version was released a month ago. It is one of the most addictive and destructive drugs on the market. Today, crystal meth is cheaper and more accessible than ever. The battle against meth is happening across Canada's, and First Nations, they're bearing the brunt. The drug came into the spotlight after the stabbing massacre in James Smith Cree Nation. Community members called for more resources to deal with addiction. As Sam Sampson shows us, First Nations on the prairies are desperately trying to find solutions to get people clean and to stop the dangerous drug from completely taking over.
I have so much love because these are people, they're grown-ups and I taught them in nursery and kindergarten. Their families I'm related to and I want to help them.
Elder Elaine Fox is trying to save her community from crystal meth. Onion Lake Cree Nation has been in a state of emergency since early 2020, prompted by 3 gang and drug-related murders in 2 months. The crisis continues, fueled by the scars of the past.
Most of them come from dysfunctional families. the families that have never dealt with residential school traumas.
The First Nation straddling the Alberta-Saskatchewan border is not alone.
We need immediate response to any First Nations, anyone that needs addictions support. They can't wait.
After September's stabbing massacre in James Smith Cree Nation, leaders called for better addictions programs, specifically for meth.
People are feeling powerless. The gang violence, the drug war, the crystal meth.
Buffalo River Dene Nation recently reinstated a second state of emergency after assaults on 2 elders. Leaders say the attackers were in meth psychosis. Crystal meth is cheap, accessible, and sweeping through the prairies at record rates. Meth-related deaths have skyrocketed in Saskatchewan and Alberta over the past few years. In Saskatchewan, Indigenous people are the most affected. Since 2016, more than half of meth-related deaths have been First Nations, Métis, and Inuit.
It's replaced alcohol as a drug of choice in most of the young people here.
The RCMP says tackling gangs and the drug trade isn't easy in small communities, even if everyone knows each other's business. Past gang murders are haunting reminders of what can happen if anyone snitches, so it's hard to establish trust.
It's tough to build that in any community, and then you do that in a community where everybody is family and related. It's even tougher to break that barrier, but it's something that has to get done here in order to create change.
These units are now going to be available within this program as a safe place.
These trailers were once used for COVID-19 isolation. Now they'll be safe houses for people displaced by gangs and drugs, complete with security guards. But if someone stays here, they have to get help.
Leadership's desire is not to throw away people.
Chief says what happened in James Smith Cree Nation sparked a sense of urgency.
How do we resolve those internally rather than sending them off to somewhere else where they're not connected to their culture and their identity.
The big baby.
Lloydminster, Alberta is about a half-hour south of Onion Lake. It's where Tiara Dillon attends court-ordered addictions treatment.
If it wasn't for my baby, I wouldn't be here today.
Dillon came here directly from jail while in her 3rd trimester with her son, Trent, now 10 months old. She started using meth in Saskatoon in 2018. She says it drove her away from family and into a gang.
The ones that I considered family was the gang that I was affiliated in. Wow. And now that I'm sober today, I don't see any of that family.
Dillon now has a relationship with her mom in Onion Lake. She's in a sober living facility with 5 of her 7 children.
I'm just happy to be sober and to have them being in my life again. I never thought I would make it this far.
Dillon credits this sober living center with her success. It's part of long-term programs offered at residents in recovery.
This is our boardroom where we have a lot of our smaller group sessions in here.
The team helps people find detox and houses them while they wait for inpatient treatment.
I mean, there's still this focus on traditional treatment methods where we send somebody to detox, they go there for 7 days, they go home or go back to work while they wait for a treatment bed, which they do for 28 days, then they're cured and they're all good, back to their normal life. It's never worked. I mean, the recidivism rates, the relapse rates are just through the roof.
Half of the clients here are Indigenous, many from Onion Lake Cree Nation. So they hired Elaine Fox to bring in a cultural aspect to the recovery program. She started early September, helping reconnect people to ceremonies and prayer.
It seems that I'm using the teachings that I grew up with.
And does she see a healthier future for Onion Lake?
Yes, that's my dream, my hope, my prayers. So many lost.
That's what Fox holds on to while she fights meth's grip on her community. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Onion Lake, Cree Nation, Saskatchewan.
The federal government's second climate action incentive payment was deposited today or will be later into mailboxes. The money is given to residents in provinces where carbon pricing is applied. The payments also come as the city of Regina moves forward with its plan to become a renewable net zero carbon emission community by 2050. One part of that plan includes electric vehicles. Today, the first electric vehicle in Regina's service fleet was unveiled.
I think that going forward, the plan, of course, is to electrify most of the fleet or go to hybrid models when that's not possible. We need electrical charging infrastructure in place, and we'll start investing in that in 2023. And I think our first electric bus will come in 2024, near the end of 2024.
In Saskatoon, the plan is to have a fully electric municipal fleet by 2030. That city introduced 4 electric vehicles in March of 2021. Some of Saskatchewan's emergency personnel are being recognized for their heroic rescues in recent years. And among them are Saskatchewan citizens who made an effort to save other people's lives. Dane Patterson was at the Royal Canadian Humane Association Bravery Awards this afternoon.
More than a dozen people were recognized Friday for their courageous actions. One of them, Misty Brown, who helped save someone who was sitting on the edge of an overpass. Brown still remembers that woman's name a year and a half later.
I just kept trying to distract her, and each time a big semi was coming underneath the bridge, passing us below, you could feel that wind just hit us, and it almost took your breath away.
The Lieutenant Governor of Saskatchewan, Russ Marasti, presented the Royal Canadian Humane Association Bravery Awards to several people, including Brown. The award recognizes heroic actions that saved or attempted to save someone's life. In some cases, that means extending beyond the ordinary duties of those involved, such as police officers. In others, regular citizens were in the right place at the right time. Brad Pilon just happened to be near the river in Saskatoon when he saw a child struggling in the water.
When I noticed the boy in the river there, so I knew he was the one in trouble. And then it almost felt like a minute later it was all over and done with.
2 other Regina men were honored as well for saving the life of a man by pulling him from a burning vehicle.
We are lucky, and he's lucky we were there, and we helped him out. So me and Sonny Baja, we did. I think we saved his older man's life, and we are proud of that.
Even though some of those incidents happened years ago, many of the recipients talked about them like they happened just yesterday. Brown says her legs were shaking as she remembered talking with the woman who was sitting on the edge of that overpass.
We're in a very, very crucial time for mental health and mental health awareness. I'm glad that it's coming up some more. And just be kind to one another. Honestly, be kind. You don't know what people are going through.
These people were grateful to be receiving the awards for their efforts, but they suggested their real reward was that they were able to save someone else's life. Dane Patterson, CBC News, Saskatoon.
It was a very big surgery for a very small reptile. A tiny plains garter snake was found crossing a road in Moose Jaw last week, suffering deep puncture wounds on its body. A volunteer with Regina's Salthaven West Wildlife Clinic happened to see the little guy and brought it in for treatment.
What we did was disinfect all the area and very gently and slowly push any organ that was exposed back inside. And then we glued the puncture. As she was holding him, which you can see would be extremely difficult because he's very fast, he's very small. So it took us quite a bit, but we did it, and then he had surgery the next day for the tail.
The snake had its tail amputated but is recovering well. Sleepak says the snake's puncture wounds may be the work of a free-roaming cat. In fact, she says 8 out of 10 injured animals brought in are wounded by cats. As for the snake, it will be brought back to the location it was found. When it's well enough, it's expected to have a normal, snaky life. Well, it was a much nicer day to walk in Wascana Park in Regina, or any place really. That intense wind has finally blown out of the province and things are looking a little calmer today. But if you've got outdoor plans this weekend, you might want to consider some layers. Ethan will explain in his forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Heavy rain has caused flash flooding in southeastern Australia, forcing thousands of residents to leave their homes.
I knew it'd be bad, but when I just came down and saw the water, it's, very emotional. And we've got to face when we can get back into it.
An intense weather system has brought a month's worth of rain to the region in just 2 days. With the water level rising, many people and animals have had to be rescued. The rain is expected to let up on the weekend, but flooding could continue. Devastating floods have repeatedly struck Australia's east coast since early last year because of a La Niña weather phenomenon.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. 22 model clear out is on now.
Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. I don't even care that it's cooler. I'm just happy the wind has given us a break.
Oh yeah, that was not a fun couple of days. I feel like you get a little more irritable when the wind is blowing like that. I certainly felt that way. But this isn't the first time that we've had wind. We are very familiar with it here. And in fact, here's just a look at some recent windy days we've had across the province in the last few months. Regina, we had gusts up to over 80 kilometers an hour in August. Saskatoon, it was even breezier on July 9th when a passing storm system brought a 91 kilometer an hour gust. And in La Ronge, we've had a few very windy days, gusts well over 70 kilometers an hour over the past few months or so. But look at these gusts right now. Not even seeing gusts. In fact, it's calm right now in Prince Albert. Really, the worst of the gusts are going to be in southwestern Saskatchewan through the overnight hours tonight. Now, temperature-wise, we're sitting pretty much normal where we should be in places like Regina and Saskatoon. But a very big temperature divide. 18 degrees in Maple Creek, only 4 in Yorkton right now. And here is why. We're sitting basically between two big upper air systems. This big diving trough in the south and a ridge out to our west here. And we're just caught right smack dab in the middle. And over the next couple of days here through the weekend, we're going to see kind of the same sort of weather we've had today with being caught in between these two systems. Then keep in mind, as we get into next week, we have this big ridge which is building in. Two really defining features of our upper atmosphere. They're going to be getting snow in southern Ontario, likely before we are in southern Saskatchewan. And that warm air, that pleasant conditions, sunshine, lighter winds, and warmer days are going to eventually be moving our way as we head into the work week next week. Now, this low pressure system, which has been bringing those very strong winds in Manitoba, is going to finally start to subside as we head through the day tomorrow. We could see some showers and maybe some flurries through the province tonight. Not really much in the way of any precipitation. Tomorrow, we'll see sun and cloud mostly through the province. And Sunday, a small system just bringing some mixed precipitation through the Churchill region. It'll be cloudy in central and portions of northern Saskatchewan, but kind of a mix of sun and cloud for the rest. Winds going to start to pick up through the overnight hours tonight. It will be a gusty day with winds close to 50 kilometers an hour on the eastern side of the province tomorrow. Then moving into Sunday, it looks like we're finally going to see that reprieve. Now, big game happening in Saskatoon. The University of Saskatchewan Huskies. I was going to say Hilltops. It's the Huskies. They are playing the Rams, and tomorrow at 1 o'clock in Saskatoon, we're looking for 7 degrees under mainly sunny skies. Winds, again, a bit breezy, but not going to be all that bad. Now, in Regina, our next few days here at the weekend, going to be kind of cool and breezy, and then a quick warm-up with temperatures well above average. Lots of sunny days ahead, and Saskatoon, you won't miss out either. Going to look quite nice. Look at that, a 17-degree temperature on Wednesday under sunny skies. So, Sam, the warm weather, not running out of gas just yet. Don't welcome in winter just yet.
It's that season where you need a coat in the morning and at night, but in the daytime, you are way too hot.
Yeah, boiling.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
It was once a thing of science fiction lore. Now, flying cars have become a reality. This prototype was designed by a Chinese automaker and made its first public flight in Dubai, and it's electric. The two-seater called the X2 flew without a driver or pilot for about 90 seconds during its debut. It features vertical takeoff and landing powered by 8 propellers. We'll be back after the break.
There are many people who elevate our community. CBC Future 40 will honor 10 Saskatchewanians under 40 making a difference. Nominate someone in your community today at cbc.ca/future40sk.
If you're looking for a way to give back to the community, the Saskatchewan Health Authority is looking for help. It needs people to deliver meals, visit seniors at facilities, or volunteer at gift shops. We caught up with a coordinator and a Meals on Wheels volunteer to hear more.
Before the pandemic, we had approximately somewhere between 25,000 and 30,000 volunteers volunteering across the whole province, from the far north to the southern tips. And right now we're at about a little over 3,500. We're in quite dire need of some Meals on Wheels volunteers or more Meals on Wheels volunteers, because as we are calling some of our former volunteers back, we've found that some of them are unable to return or have not got the mobility that they had prior to COVID, and we are just wearing out the people that we relied on so heavily during the pandemic.
I'd lost my mom a couple years ago, and I've always been a caregiver, and I was feeling I was missing that and missing helping others, and so this was my call, I think. You know, in a world that's been so negative for the last couple of years, it's just so great to see the positive and the appreciation, and for me to be able to contribute something. I've been retired for 2 years now, and it's great to be able to get out there and socialize again. I finished my first shift, and then I got a phone call from one of the ladies at one of the facilities to see if I would come in and tour the facility and perhaps try another venue like visiting and maybe running a bingo for seniors, and so we'll see where it takes me.
You can actually go onto the website and look for volunteering or career opportunities, and you can pick your community or your place in the province and see what kind of opportunities are available. We have families that volunteer together in some long-term care facilities. That's what they do on a Saturday, is they go and help with some activities or some outings, or going with residents when they go shopping.
I say just do it, go for it. You know what, if you don't like it, nobody's holding you to it, and just try it, because I can guarantee after the first day, like I said, I got the warm and fuzzies.
And Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
And after a chance of some showers in Regina tonight, Sam, it looks like we will wake up with cloudy conditions in the city. Winds picking up pretty early in the morning. In fact, they'll gust overnight close to 45 kilometers an hour, and they'll pick up slightly as we head to the noon hour. Still cloudy, but we will see some sunny breaks through the afternoon. Not getting much higher than 7 degrees, though. Saskatoon, a mix of sun and cloud at 8 a.m. under 3 degrees, and those northwest winds picking up as well before they shift from the north. By the time we get to the noon hour, 6 degrees at close to 40 kilometer an hour gusts, a little lighter than Regina. Beautiful time of year, of course. The wind blowing most of the leaves off the trees, but not in Saskatoon, where Bob has grabbed this shot along the riverbank. And just a nice calming shot to send you into a calming weekend, Sam.
Oh, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, the weather might be a little cooler this weekend, but the sun will be out. And if you're feeling a bit stir-crazy, this is the last weekend to check out an annual attraction in the Regina area. Happy Hollow opens its gates the weekend after Labor Day and will close up after this coming weekend. Situated near Lumsden in the Qu'Appelle Valley, the Family Fun Farm has grown popular over the years as a place to spend a day with the family. They have a petting zoo, play areas, a corn maze, and a pumpkin patch. The owners say an annual fall festival also gives people a multi-generational experience in nature.
With, Saskatchewan being over 100 years old, there were, 2-3 generations removed from the farm. And there are a lot of kids today that don't realize and understand what farm animals are, what nature is, because they grew up in the city. And here is an affordable opportunity for multi-generational grandpa, grandma, parents, and youngsters to come out, experience nature.
It's nice to be outside and spend time with our family, and my kids really like the petting zoo and all the attractions here.
I think it's a super fun place to come bring kids and jump on pillows and play in lots of different activities. They've done a great job making it a really family-friendly place to come visit.
The farm is open tomorrow and Sunday from 10 till 6. Then it closes up for the season. And that's it for us this week. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Glenn, Reed, and Ethan will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.